I believe what's changing most about how brands connect with viewers at home is I think brands are really realizing that television historically was a mass reach but passive environment where people are just watching what you present to them. I think what's exciting for brands right now is that television is becoming interactive and more engaged, and that presents new opportunities for brands to engage with consumers.
You built and exited a pioneering CTV ad tech company before founding Phynd. What did that experience teach you about how advertisers will need to evolve their playbook?
Yeah. So I think what the experience of previously founding TrueOptic has really helped in terms of how I'm thinking about the go-to-market for Phynd. The challenges that we faced a decade ago with trying to build audience capabilities, targeting, measurement, capabilities across connected TV, where there were a lot of advertisers and brands that questioned if connected TV at that time was a niche audience, or could it be targeted or measured, or was it experimental, was it premium enough? Like, those were all the questions that we helped solve for the industry, and now everybody views it as probably the most dominant platform, and far and away the biggest opportunity to engage consumers. I think what similar challenge that Phynd and the entire gaming industry is having to solve for is some of those same misnomers, right? And so what's really exciting is what we've done with Phynd is try to make it easy for people to transact in the same way. And there's kind of three core pillars that we're looking at when it comes to that. So one, it's showing that the content is premium. So there's no question about it, right? So across Phynd, we have games like Smurf Cart and Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and Garfield Party and Agatha Christie Mysteries and Inspector Gadget and so forth. And so when you are able to show brands that they're able to connect with consumers across premium IP that they've known for decades and no one questions, that is kind of the first way to help. The second thing is kind of the infrastructure and the pipe. So with my first company, TrueOptic, what we did was we made it possible for people to target and transact both direct and programmatically using the same data partners, same measurement partners, same tech providers that they were used to doing across digital or linear. And so what we've done the same thing is for Phynd. So we've announced global distribution partnerships with Samsung and LG and Amazon and several more that we'll announce this summer. And so you're talking about the biggest distributors of media across the world in terms of on the televisions. And then from a technology standpoint, we've announced a global partnership with Magnite and SpringServe. And so I think that was the first way of saying, hey, you can transact on the same devices with the same technology partners. And I think the last thing is really about an education piece. And so allowing brands to realize, hey, I now have more engagement. I have television scale reach, but I have better engagement than even live sports, because there's nothing more engaged than that, 30 seconds before a game loads and a player or consumer has a controller in their hand and they're looking at the screen waiting for their game to start. That's even a higher level than connected TV, traditional video advertising has ever been. And so I think those are the things that I'm most excited about, and really how we knew we had to come to market to kind of speed up adoption of the opportunity.
Tell me about Phynd's strategy.
Our strategy is that the value proposition for the consumer needs to be second to none. And I think it starts there. And so one of the things is that what we've seen with connected TV and ad-supported connected TV, everybody knows it's scaled massively, everybody knows it's highly effective, highly measurable, attributable, and so forth, but it's become somewhat commoditized, right? Everybody has content. Everybody has cool shows and movies, and what could we do to differentiate ourselves? And I think what we've seen previously is that brands and advertisers knew that there's tremendous value in reaching consumers across video games on the big screen, right? However, that has really been artificially shrunk in terms of that scale because it was mostly behind gaming consoles. Well, only a third of households in the world with a television have a gaming console, whether it's a PlayStation, a Nintendo, an Xbox, it doesn't matter, combined. And so you're already talking about a small segment of the overall audience. And when players were already spending hundreds of dollars, if not more, for the hardware, and then dozens of dollars, if not more, for the game, and then having to buy items, the idea of then being able to reach them with advertising and sponsorship is just like another layer on top of the tax that they're already paying. I think the difference here is when we talk about our global partnerships, you're talking about hundreds of millions of homes that already have those smart TVs in them and don't have to buy additional hardware, don't have to buy the games, don't have to pay for monthly subscriptions when almost half of all homes have canceled some sort of subscription over the last 6 months. And what a brand is able to do, the value proposition that they're able to present to the consumer is, hey, whether it's seeing an ad, whether it's giving you a reward or sponsored experience, we're helping you access this game for free, premium content. And I think that is something that's remarkable.
So the creative community in Cannes is always looking for the next canvas. What does non-intrusive, audience-based advertising for streaming look like these days?
Really what the opportunity is and what Phynd really prides itself on is never interrupting the playing experience. And because what you don't want is for a brand to be considered intrusive or ruining the vibe, right? For what my son calls it. And so what we made sure that we're talking about full screen pre-roll. So again, apples to apples, how people are looking at their television experience. And so, hey, I'm being able to play this premium video game for free because of this brand. It gave me that opportunity. Or we're looking at like, how do we enhance the experience? Hey, if you get to this level 5, or you play for this amount of time, you can get this reward or this discount or this item that's sponsored by a brand. And so what we really have focused on is how does the brand enhance the experience? And that allows for not only unmatched engagement, but it helps with retention, and it helps the brand become immersed in kind of that value proposition for the player. So I think that's really what we're looking at, and we're just so ecstatic because what we've seen with our early testing is, we launched just a few weeks ago on Samsung, and we've already had millions and millions of homes in the US download the app. We're seeing longer playing time, higher engagement than we even predicted. We're very ecstatic to be launching on LG and Fire TV next month. And so it's really exciting. We have limited what the brand engagement and monetization on the platform has been while we're kind of collecting data and training our model, which is called Phynd, the Phynd Agentic Monetization Engine, and kind of looking at how do we optimize that engagement for the consumer and that brand experience. And we're really excited in Q4 to start opening up more abilities for brands to engage with our users.